Uh, so, as the Huairou Commission is a global movement focused on promoting grassroots women's leadership, I think I would like to interpret the question perhaps a little differently, because I think women-focused investments can mean different things to different institutions. And for us, I think I interpret it as meaning that investments that are looking at building livelihoods and enterprise should be going hand in hand with empowering grassroots women. So I will offer some reflections based on the work that we are doing with ADB in the CRPP program, but also some of the work that we are doing in the Huairou Commission in terms of reviewing the Community Resilience Fund, and in the Green Accountability Initiative, some of the work that we are doing on accountability there. So I think as we are a global network working with many different kinds of organizations, I think first it's important to see that when we talk about investment, then we should also be looking at return on investment as being the kind of social impacts or the leadership and empowerment impacts that the investment brings. So we would like to see, and in our own work, we have tried to ensure through the Community Resilience Fund that the work that women do on building livelihoods, whether it is in relation to acquiring and securing land through land titles, or working on sort of processing natural resources and going up the value chain, or it is around doing agriculture that is climate smart. We have groups here that are working on kitchen gardens and roof gardens and food security. So whatever groups are doing in terms of the sort of adapting their livelihoods, that is set within a larger empowerment and movement that is focused on social change. So we give a lot of importance and we put a lot of resources into building grassroots women's leadership and organizing. And I think that, again, for us, the investment has a long-term impact, because the networks and the solidarity that is built through the sort of collective decision-making that we are promoting, the collective leadership and empowerment process, then becomes the base of something that is scalable, but is then driven by women. Otherwise, I think there is a risk that women-focused investments make women instrumental, and women become the agency or the entity through which funds are given, but women do not have control over that money. And we are seeing this. You see it in cash transfers at the household level, where with good intentions, funds are given in the hands of women, but they do not control how it is used. You're seeing it with microfinance, microcredit also a lot, where women don't control what is done with the money, nor does it really benefit them in terms of their position in the household or in the community. So I think this kind of building values-based networks and organizations that aggregate lots of small grassroots groups, just in the way that Sarla is here. She is part of a network of cooperatives in Nepal. Together they have $1 million+. That's money that the members of the cooperatives have generated. So one could think of them as part of private initiatives or private capital that they are investing in livelihoods, in small infrastructure, in upgrading the quality of life of their communities. So on the one hand, they're aggregators, they're generating their own funds, and they are attracting investment, both from government investment or finance, I should say, from government sources and public finance, as well as from the private sector. So again, our members are accessing resources both from companies in the form of the private sector. Some of them are registered as producer cooperatives, as cooperatives. They are attracting microfinance loans, or they are also getting finance from government institutions through partnerships with government. So I think it's very important that projects that are financed for livelihoods and building resilient livelihoods, which are for improving the lives of women, are located inside movements. I think the second thing is around constantly, I think, balancing the between internal and external accountability. I think within our own work with the Community Resilience Fund, we're seeing this as an important, I think, tension to recognize, and it can be a creative tension, but I think where the enabling environment is becoming very challenging, it means that grassroots organizations and social movements and NGOs are spending a lot of energy and resources on doing the work of building compliance and very complex accounting and so on. And whereas they really need to invest and focus much more on invest in reaffirming the solidarity, building multi-generation leadership, continuing to ground their work in the social change that is really their purpose. So if that anchoring or that foundation gets lost, then the other work sort of writing good reports and keeping good accounts is not meaningful. Because, and I think where organizations or institutions are financing groups, they also need to realize that the solidarity of these values-based networks is where the trust comes from. And the trust is what counters the risk. So it's a very important means of risk mitigation. And the financial institutions need to recognize that. The last thing I'll say is that it's important in this context of layered financing and the kind of wider portfolios that institutions want to build in order to support adaptation. It's important to recognize that grassroots women's organizations also have a variety of financial products in there that they have designed for themselves. So they have social assistance funds, which they give to members who've had emergencies. They've developed within their cooperative emergency funds. They have savings through which they're financing a lot of their own livelihoods, activities and needs. And they are also very good at running revolving funds. I want to take a moment and talk about the importance of revolving funds, because many financial institutions have constraints around supporting revolving funds. But for me, it's very, very important because grassroots organizations find that they can use the loans, they can rotate them, they can, the funds can sort of be continually replenished. And for me, the most important thing is that without having that kind of revolving fund, women cannot develop systems and learn to manage them. So if it's a grant and it's a one-time grant, you take decisions around it and it's over, and you do it once a year. If it's a revolving fund, you're doing it every month collectively. I think that's a very important part of this. So I think it's important to figure out how a range of products can be made available to grassroots organizations, and that grassroots women's organizations who've been managing funds for a long time be part of co-designing these along with financial institutions. So I'll stop there. Thank you so much.